The Love Story of Miss 12 and Captain 7 by Mrs. C. N. Williamson. This is a LibriVox recording, read in honor of the 12th anniversary of LibriVox. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. If only he cared about getting well, it would be such a help. But he doesn't seem to, one bit, thought the little nurse, gazing anxiously down at the closed eyes of her patient. He was a handsome patient, although he was so white and thin. Perhaps, if he had not been handsome, if he had been old and ugly and uninteresting and fat, instead of a brave young soldier, she might not have been quite so anxious. For she was young too, and human, very human. But she was not conscious that her sympathy for him depended upon anything more subtle than his suffering. He had long black eyelashes, almost too good to waste on a man, the little nurse had said to a companion when he first came under her care. But she did not think now that they were too good for him. She sat watching his face, reviewing the many days since he had come to the nursing home to have the bullet, which had hidden itself for so long, extracted, and to get well afterwards. But why didn't he get well? He ought to have shown signs of improvement a week ago. Suddenly the black lashes quivered, lifted, and his eyes looked straight up to hers. "What is it, nurse?" he asked. "It's time for you to take your medicine," she answered, with the soft, dimpled smile which seemed somehow to match well with the dove-grey uniform, the long white apron, and the little cap with the stiffly starched band and bow under the chin. "What's the good?" he muttered, while he resignedly drank the stuff she poured into a glass. "To make you well." "But what's the good of being made well? I've nothing particular to live for now. I don't grudge anything, of course, but it's hard lines, you know." She did know. She understood that, though the surgeons and doctors meant to turn him out of the nursing home cured, he would have to give up his promising career in the army. And he had suffered a good deal during all the 2 years since he had got his wound, and DSO, in West Africa. "There are other things," she suggested cheeringly. "I suppose there are. Only I don't see them yet." Somebody had said that there was a girl who had pretended to care for him, and then thrown him over, but that was gossip. Just then, before she had thought what answer to make, which might reveal to the poor, tired fellow 100 new interests in life, something fell on the floor of the room above. "I didn't know there was anybody up there," he said. "It's always been as quiet as the grave, night and day." "She only came this morning," replied the little nurse. For a moment she paused. Then a bright light flashed in her grey eyes. "Ah," she exclaimed, "if you were like her now, you would have something to complain of." "Why, what's the matter with her?" he inquired, more because he saw that the nurse expected him to be interested than because he really was. Not a question had he asked since his arrival about any other inmate of the house. There might be dozens, or there might be none except himself for all he knew. The nurse shook her head. "Poor girl," she sighed. "She's so young and so beautiful, and a little while ago she had everything on earth to live for. Now what has she? And yet you should see how brave she is. Why, it's wonderful." This time he did not have to feign interest. "Who is the girl you're talking about?" he asked. Nurse hesitated. "Oh, you know it's against the rules of the house for us to mention the name of one patient to another." "I didn't know." "Well, it is. But I'll call her Miss 12. Her room's number 12. "What am I, then?" "We always speak of you, when we do speak, as Captain 7. He laughed a little. "Oh yes, I remember now. I've heard the pros in the corridor outside say to each other, 'When is 7's breakfast coming up?' But you were going to tell me about Miss 12. "Poor Miss 12. Well, she's perfectly beautiful, and she can't be more than 21. How any man could jilt her! But one did, on account of her eyes. And he's married another girl and gone on to the continent, leaving 12 to suffer. He doesn't care. She loved him, and besides, he was rich. Oh, very rich. And she's lost every penny she had in the world." "That's a bad lookout," said Captain 7, sympathetically. "Yes. And her father and mother were both killed in a railway accident only a short time ago. That was when she learned that she wouldn't have any money. Her father had had great losses. He was a historian who wrote books and knew nothing about business, and had trusted to a friend to make his investments. They had all gone wrong, and the friend had deceived him. Now 12 is left alone in the world, with no father and mother, no lover, no money, and perhaps no eyesight. "By Jove, what a cruel story!" exclaimed Captain 7, waking up to generous interest, and looking more alive than the nurse had seen him look since he knew the worst about himself. "But what a lot you've managed to find out about this poor girl who's only been in the house since this morning." The nurse blushed faintly, as if she had been accused of undue curiosity. "I knew some of the story beforehand," she explained. "The part about her father being a historian, and the railway accident, and the loss of the money. The other part I found out since. Not that she would tell such things about herself, but— well, you mustn't ask how I learned that." "No, I won't. But tell me more about her," he said. "Is there danger that she will be blind?" "I'm afraid there is," sighed the little nurse. "And she's got such glorious eyes. You never saw eyes as lovely, and you wouldn't dream anything was wrong with them." "What colour are they?" he asked. "Violet, with dark lashes." "You seem to be an admirer of beauty," said Captain 7, smiling, and looking more critically at the little nurse than he had looked yet. He thought that she was a pretty girl, though nothing very wonderful, of course, and her voice was as soft as the notes of a flute. "Go on and describe Miss 12, he commanded. The nurse was delighted at her success in rousing her patient. "Well," she began, slowly, as if she were endeavouring to recall each detail. "Golden hair, all in great waves and quantities of it. It must come nearly down to her knees. It's such a bright colour it makes her eyes look dark." "Good complexion?" "Exquisite, like a lily, but her lips are red." "Dimples?" suggested Captain 7, his eyes happening to light upon those of the nurse. She grew pink. "I believe so, and one in her chin. Her nose is perfect, quite Greek, and the loveliest mouth. It's the kind I've heard called a Cupid's bow." "Why, she must be a goddess," said 7. "But perhaps her figure isn't good. She can't have everything, you know." "Oh, she has, everything except happiness and good fortune." The nurse broke the thread of her sentence hastily. "Her figure is beautiful too, just as beautiful as her face, slender and tall, and her hands and feet are the sweetest things." "And yet you say some brute of a fellow has jilted this heavenly creature!" exclaimed Captain 7. "Yes, the monster, because she may be blind and need him all the more." "Ought to have his neck wrung," grumbled the young man. "But then we only know one side of the story, don't we? Maybe Miss 12 has a beast of a temper, or something." "Oh, if you saw her, you would be certain she couldn't have," the little nurse protested, quite indignantly. "Of course, she hasn't been here long enough for us to really know her yet, but she seems to have an angelic disposition. And you can generally tell a good deal about people's dispositions when they're suffering." "Poor girl. Is she suffering now?" "Dreadfully. Every minute. To say nothing of what all her grief and anxiety must be. But she laughs and says witty things through it all." "She's got twice my pluck," said Captain 7 with a sigh. "Well, she's certainly an example to everybody." "What are you going to do to her?" asked the young man apprehensively. "Will it be an operation?" The little nurse nodded, with pursed mouth. "It's against our rules to talk much about one patient to another," she said. "Still, as you are so interested, and don't know her name, it can't do any harm. There'll be an operation tomorrow. You'll smell the ether coming up from the theatre, I expect." "Heavens, how awful! And she's got no one with her? No friends to see her through, poor child?" "No one at all. You must wish her well." "Indeed I do, and will," said Captain 7 earnestly. He thought for a minute, and then went on rather shyly. "I'd like her to know that there's someone in the house who will be thinking about her, and hoping for the best, the very best." "She shall know," the little nurse answered. "I'll tell her myself. She isn't one of my patients. I have you and 5 and 6. She has a special, but I relieve special sometimes when she goes out, and I'll take the message. Only you had better not talk about 12 to any of the other nurses or the pros, because professionally I oughtn't to have told you about her." "Hang professionally, as if it mattered a rap!" exclaimed 7. "But of course I wouldn't get you into trouble for the world. You're a perfect little saint to me, and you may depend I won't breathe a word that I've ever heard of Miss 12. You'll give me news of her, though, won't you, whenever you can? Naturally, after all you've told me, I shall be anxious to know." The nurse assured him that he might depend upon her, and that same evening she had some news to give. Captain Seven's message had been duly delivered, and Miss 12 thanked him very much. She had sent word that Seven's kind thought would help her through tomorrow. It warmed the young man's heart to hear this, and when he remembered what tomorrow meant for that poor, lonely, lovely creature upstairs, a stinging sensation in the lids made him want to close his eyes. "I told 12 something about you," went on the little nurse, timidly. "Did you? What did you tell her? That I was a helpless wretch, who makes you lots of trouble and whose career is ruined—" "Indeed, I didn't tell her anything of the kind," almost snapped the nurse. "I said you were a soldier, a captain in the army, who had done splendidly brave things, and though you were going to leave the army, because for a few years you mightn't have quite your old strength in your right arm and hand, it wouldn't really matter to you so very much. You could be quite happy, for you had a place in the country and plenty of friends and enough money, and you could travel." "There, there," laughed Seven. "That's a long enough list of my blessings, thank you. But compared to what that poor child seems to have to look forward to, I have everything left to be thankful for." "So 12 said, and she's so glad. She told me to say that she envied you, and yet she wouldn't rob you of one of those good things, even if she could change. She likes brave soldiers, and she feels sure you deserve every consolation you have, and more." "She really must be an angel," exclaimed the young man. "I told you she was," said the nurse. "I suppose I have got consolations, as she calls them," he soliloquized aloud. "By Jove, I must try and be more grateful. Tell Miss 12 I said so when you thank her for me, and say that, if she cares to hear it, she has done me good." "I will, and of course she'll care to hear it," said the little nurse. Next day Captain Seven was restless until he heard that the ordeal of Miss 12 was over. "It's uncertain for a week what the result will be," said the nurse, "but she has come through very well. She'll be conscious again in half an hour or so." "Has anybody got her flowers?" eagerly asked Seven. No, nobody had, and he announced his intention of sending out for some, nor would he be dissuaded from the enterprise by certain timid protests from the nurse. A messenger boy was hastily dispatched with lavish orders, and came back laden with roses in time for 12 to wake up and find them in her room. Her eyes were bandaged, said the nurse, but though she could not see the flowers, their fragrance told her of their presence before she heard of Captain Seven's kindness. After that, he insisted on ordering flowers every day, and the little nurse was kept busy with the exchange of messages between the rooms. So great was the fillip given by this new interest to the young man's health, that his appetite improved, and soon he was able to sit up in a chaise longue. That was on the day he was told that Miss 12 was not going to lose her eyesight, and by this time he felt that he knew her well enough to send up a short written note of congratulation. The nurse promised that she would be allowed to read it, but it was a delicious surprise to receive an answer, scribbled in pencil. Even the scribble was beautiful in his eyes, and the note was so charmingly expressed that it seemed to give Captain Seven a real glimpse of the character which had been so glowingly described to him. He replied, of course, within the hour, and after that a morning note and an afternoon note were invariably exchanged between rooms numbers 7 and 12. When nurse said that Miss 12 could read for an hour a day, Captain Seven shared his books with her, and she sent him 2 or 3 which kept, or he fancied it, a faint, adorable fragrance in their pages. He was sure that it must be Miss 12's favourite scent. One day, when the two had known each other in this way for nearly a fortnight, Seven summoned courage to write and ask for the goddess's photograph. It was the first and only request of his which she had denied. She was very sorry, but she had no photographs, and Seven was depressed by her refusal. He was afraid that she was angry with him for asking, and as he lay awake that night, thinking of the girl, he realized that he had fallen deeply in love with her. "It doesn't matter that I haven't seen her," he said to himself. "I know that she's beautiful, but it's her soul that I'm in love with, the exquisite soul that she has put into her precious little messages and letters without knowing it." Next morning he had a high temperature, and the little nurse was distressed. "I thought you were almost well," she sighed, "but now I'm afraid we must telephone for the doctor." "The only medicine I need is an answer to this, the right kind of an answer," said Captain Seven, slipping into the nurse's hand a note which he had contrived to write in the night, when he was at his worst. "Do take it up to Miss 12 at once, and beg her to let me have a word in return as soon as she can. Tell her I can hardly wait." The nurse looked frightened at these signs of impetuosity, but she went away with the letter, and did not come back again for half an hour. When she did come, it would have been evident to anyone but a man absorbed in thoughts of another woman that she had been crying. Probably she had been listening to confidences from 12. "Here is the answer," she said, in an odd voice, holding out one of the little 3-cornered folded-over notes which had grown so familiar, and so precious. Then she stole out of the room, but the man did not even see that she had gone. He was opening the 3-cornered note, and his brown hands, from which the sunburnt bronze had never worn off, were shaking a little. "Dear Captain 7," he read, "I think I must go on calling you that, even though you have told me your real name, and I mustn't tell you mine because it is better for you to forget. These 2 weeks have been very happy for me, and it's you who have made them so, but they must be the end. I never dreamed of what you tell me in this last letter, which has just come. Do forgive me, dear Captain 7, but you must not think of me any more. There is something in my life that I can't tell you, which will keep us apart. We mustn't even see each other. I do care, but all the more because I care, I must go out of your life. Though I want you to forget, I shall never forget. I shall think of you, and wish beautiful and happy things for you as long as you may live. Soon I shall be gone from here, but I shall leave my thoughts behind, and they will be saying to you, get well and strong. Be glad of all the blessings you have, and don't grieve for the few things you have lost. Your friend always, 12. Soon I shall be gone. Captain 7 said the words over to himself in alarm. She must not go. He must see her. That letter of his had been written when his feelings were at high tension, in the hour before the dawn when the whole silent room had seemed alive with thoughts of her. Of course he could not in cooler moments have expected her to answer it according to his wish. He had frightened her. But give him his chance to see the girl and plead his cause with lips and eyes. That was all he asked, and he meant to have it. He pressed the electric bell impatiently, and the little nurse came almost at once. This time he did notice that the soft, rosy face was pale. "Has 12 said anything to you about the letter you took up?" he inquired, almost sharply. "No, she hasn't said anything," the nurse answered, after a slight electric pause. "But you know something. I see by your face that you do. Please answer." The poor nurse blushed pitifully, until the tears were forced to her eyes. I can't help suspecting," she stammered. "But—" "There isn't any but. Surely you, who have been so good, aren't going to turn against me?" "Oh, no, but it's no use. I'm sorry now, dreadfully sorry that I ever told you about 12. I meant it for the best. I thought it would interest you to know about her, and that it would help you to get well, to hear how brave she was." "So it has. And because she is so brave and so adorable, and so everything that's good, I've fallen in love with her, that's all. I must see her, whatever happens." "You can't, possibly." "I don't mean now, while she's here, of course. That wouldn't do. But I shall be able to get out in a day or two, you know, and she says in her letter that she's going soon. Then—" "She has gone, already." "Gone? It's not possible. It's not an hour since she wrote to me." "But she was up and dressed then, and everything was ready. Please don't look like that, it will break my heart, because it's all my fault. I ought to have— Oh, don't think of her any more. You can never meet." Captain 7 flushed and paled. "Why? At least I have the right to know why," he broke out. "I can't tell you. She couldn't tell you, but there is a very, very good reason." "I don't believe it," he insisted obstinately. "After all that's passed, I can't think any reason could exist strong enough to make her so cruel to me. If she tells me that I mustn't, I won't speak of love, but surely just to see her face to face—" "I told you she is gone." The little nurse cut him short, with a break in her voice. "But you, or someone in the house, surely have her address and can forward a letter. When she really understands that it's a matter of life and death to me—" No, it isn't. Don't say that." "It's the truth. Dear, kind little nurse, help me, won't you? I've only you to depend upon because she's gone away and I don't even know her name." "You know nothing. Nothing at all about her, really. Perhaps if you'd met—" "I know enough about her from her messages and letters, and the books and flowers she loves best, and your descriptions of her, to be sure she's the one woman in the world for me. Don't let me lose her without trying for my happiness." I'm afraid I can't do anything. But yes, I'll try, if only you won't look like that and excite yourself so much. I'll do my very best, but please let me go now. I must." She did not come back till some small duty called her to the room, and he had been for perhaps 2 hours alone, conscious that every minute his beloved 12 might be receding farther and farther from him into the unknown. When she appeared, it was with quite a bustling, professional air, as if nothing had happened. "Well?" he asked excitedly, but she answered that she must take his temperature. No, of course she had found out nothing yet. How could he expect it? She had 2 other patients to look after. The temperature was bad, and the doctor came, and there was cooling medicine to drink. The nurse hoped that her patient would be better in the morning, but instead he was worse, and in her guilty little soul she well knew why. "Oh, you mustn't worry," she said. "I shall, every minute," Captain Seven replied, "till you have news for me." "But supposing it were bad news?" "Even bad news would be better than none, better than suspense. Have you none? I believe you have. For heaven's sake tell me, or I must apply to the superintendent for Miss Twelve's real name and address." The little nurse walked over to the window and looked out silently for a minute. Then, without any warning, she burst into tears, trying to check her sobs. "I will tell you! I'll tell you everything!" she cried, turning suddenly upon the young man, sitting shocked and anxious in his chaise longue. "But when I've told you, you'll despise and hate me forever. Not that that will make any difference to you, because you'll be leaving in a few days. You'll never understand. No man could, but I did it for the best. You needed an interest so much. I... Go on. There isn't any Miss 12. What do you mean? There was just a poor, plain, fat old lady up there. It was true about the operation on her eyes, but nothing else was. I made all the rest up, like a kind of fairy story." Captain Seven sat aghast. He felt that he must be asleep and dreaming, and that in a moment more he would wake up. "Nothing else was true?" he echoed slowly. "Why, did you give the old lady the flowers and the notes?" No, she never had the notes. The flowers, yes, because I couldn't have disposed of them in any other way, without everybody suspecting something strange. The poor old thing thought you were so kind. But the books and the notes I kept." "Who answered them? You?" She hung her head. "Yes, it was for your sake, to keep up your interest. I know you can never forgive me, and now I see what a dreadful mistake I made, but I didn't think at first. I made up the description of Miss 12 according to my own ideal, and according to what I thought would please you most. There was some truth in the story I told you about her troubles. That is, it was true about another person." "What was true?" "Oh, only the part about her father being a historian, and losing his money and being killed in a railway accident. You see, you asked me so many questions I had to think quickly, so it came easily to tell my own story." "That was your story, then?" "Yes, but it happened years ago, just before I thought of being a nurse and went into a hospital for my training. It hasn't anything to do with this." "It has something to do with it. And the other part, about the lover who jilted her and all that?" "That was made up. Oh, it's awful to have to tell you this. I would rather have died. But just as I made up the story to save you at first, I must unmake it to save you now, for instead of getting better, you are worse." "Little nurse, please stop crying and come here," said Captain Seven. "I want you." She came slowly. "I was in love with the woman who sent me those kind messages and sweet, dear little letters. It was the beautiful soul she showed to me in them, not your description of her beautiful face, that made me love her. So you see, after all, I haven't lost her. For the only difference is that instead of being in love with Miss 12, I'm in love with you." "No, you mustn't say that. You only imagine it," sobbed the nurse. "You hate me, really, and it's right you should." He caught her little soft hand. "I'll show you how I hate you," he said. So that was the way it ended. For of course, she had loved him from the beginning. End of The Love Story of Miss 12 and Captain Seven by Mrs. C. N. Williamson.